Hey, what's up, y'all? It's popping this Z Boss reacts to this vid. This is something from your childhood that you thought was okay, but now realize is really bad. Oh, really bad? Okay. But we're gonna hear what these people been doing in their childhood that was really bad. They didn't realize till later. This sound a little sus. Let's hear what they say. Let's watch.
I want to know something from your childhood that you thought was okay, but now realize is really, really bad.
When I was 9 and walking around the streets like a little hooligan, unsupervised, this drunk man approached me, and I didn't know what a drunk adult looked like, so I just thought, fun, a wonky guy. And then he was like, do you want this half-eaten stale bag of chips? And I went, of course, I'm 9. And then he was like, do you also want to come inside my house? And I said, yes, I do want to do that with you. And then he was like, do you want to go upstairs? And I was like, I feel like at this point I should ask my mum. I feel like I've heard about situations like this. And he was like, oh, I'll come with you. And I was like, oh, perfect, she'll love that. So I bring home this drunk man into the house, and I'm like, here you go. My mum's like, well, what the fuck are you doing? She tells me to go to my room, but I don't want to do that. And so he picks me up, and because he's drunk, he slams me into the bookshelf. Because he falls over. She tells him to get the fuck out. And I was like, what a quirky, fun guy. Looking back, he was a pedophile.
I want to know something from your childhood that you thought was okay, but now realize is really, really bad.
Okay, when I was in 2nd grade, I used to be friends with this girl named Catherine, and like once a month I slept over at her house. And every single time I slept over, her mom would take us to Target or Walmart at like 9 or 10 p.m. and drive us to the back of the store, take us out of the car, and put us inside of the giant dumpsters at the back of the store. And then she'd be like, okay, I'm gonna go shopping. I'll be back in like an hour. You guys just play in here. And it was like a thing. Every time I went to Catherine's house, I was always so excited because I knew I got to play in the dumpster. And then one time I came home with this raggedy stuffed animal. And my mom was like, where'd you get this? And I said, oh, the dumpster. My mom was like, what do you mean the dumpster? And I said, every time I go to Catherine's house, we get to play in the dumpster. It's so fun. And after I told my mom that, she never let me see Catherine again. Well, obviously. But like,
her mom is dirty.
What?
I want to know something from your childhood that you thought was okay, but now realize is really, really bad.
When I was in elementary school, we had this one lunch lady. Her name was Miss Kathy. I feel like that was every lunch lady's name. She was always the one to tell us to quiet down. She was really fucking scary. And to be honest, she probably hated children. However, there were days that she was nice and she would come sit at your table. Not because she liked you, because she wanted some of your food. She would sit and share your snack with you whether you wanted to or not. Also, every day that we went outside for lunch for recess, we would play dodgeball. And it was boys versus girls, which honestly seems very horrible now that I think of it. But Miss Kathy would always play on the girls' side, and she would pelt the fuck out of us boys. And not with a soft dodgeball, with one of those rubber fucking balls you use for kickball. She would walk up to the line and bash a kid in the fucking face. There was no remorse. And for some reason, we loved it. We wanted her to play with us every day and bash us in the face.
Something from your childhood that you thought was okay, but now realize
her
is
anger
really,
on
really
y'all.
bad.
I have this doll that I bought at a flea market when I was like 4 years old. This doll is the type that flips over to reveal another doll underneath. But I can't show you because it is racist. Did I know that at 4 years old? No. Did my parents know that? Yeah. They still let me buy it because all I saw were 2 beautiful dolls. I absolutely loved this doll. Both sides of it. For my entire childhood. My parents let me take this out of the house. And of course they explained to me, hey, don't flip it over because it's not good. How they explain that to a 4-year-old, I have no idea. I just remember I wasn't supposed to show anybody the other side. To imagine that she was a princess that could shapeshift. You know, just change her appearance. I used to sleep with it every night. And I'd flip it over every day so that a different side of the doll could enjoy being on the bed. I love her so much. And I see her years later, and when I pull her out of the box, I'm like, oh my fucking God, what?
I want to know something from your childhood
that
you thought was okay.
A black doll under?
I was living with my dad at the time, and my dad's always been like a pretty big party guy, went to the clubs almost every weekend, and he was pretty good about either leaving money for food or just having food in the fridge, because he almost never came back on the weekends. But one time I come home, it's the long weekend, he's not home, and I'm like, okay, whatever, he's probably gonna come back later. There's no money, and the only thing in the fridge is sauces and a cantaloupe. So I'm calling him, he doesn't pick up. Eventually his phone dies, and his phone stays dead for the next 3 days, and so for those 3 days, I ate that melon. I rationed it out for 3 days. And finally, on the 3rd day, I run out of melon, and I'm freaking out. Eventually, I call his girlfriend at the time, and I tell her, hey, I haven't seen my dad, and there's no food in the house, and she freaks out, goes to find him. He had passed out on his friend's couch because he had done too much E, and he had just stayed there for the last 3 days. And we always joked about it and called it the melon story. And I always thought it was funny until I told my friends, and they were like, bro, that's neglect.
I want to know something from your childhood that you thought was okay, but now realize is really, really bad.
Yeah, this one's really bad. Sorry, I'm at the Chick-fil-A drive-thru.
The waffle fries?
When I was like 13 or 14, if we missed the school bus, we would have to take a taxi because our parents couldn't leave work and drive us to school. It was all fine and well, except for there was this one taxi driver in particular that I always had weird experiences with. At the time, I didn't think they were weird. I thought they were funny. Mind you, this taxi driver was like 60 years old. And one time he gave me the birds and the bees talk, but like wouldn't let me leave until he finished. We were at school and he put the child lock on so I couldn't get out of the car.
That's Chick-fil-A sauce as possible.
And I recorded it on my phone because I was like, haha, this is so funny.
When I think back on it, I'm like, that was not correct.
Show the footage.
I want to know something from your childhood that you thought was okay, but now realize is really, really bad.
Between the ages of me being 12 and 14, every single weekend my mother would get me a hotel room, and she would get one across the hall. I wouldn't bother her or anything. She wouldn't bother me. And she would give me some money. I go shopping, call it a day, blah, blah, so forth. And so
she's getting them cheeks clapped.
Fast forward, my mother and my father break up. She gets a new man, and I remember this man because I seen him one day when she was dropping me off at the hotel one day.
Oh no,
and come to find out that whole time that she was taking me out every weekend, it was just an excuse so that she could get away from my dad and cheat on him with my current stepdad. And all the money that I was getting was from him.
I want to know something from your childhood that you thought was okay, but now realize is really, really bad.
Okay, so this isn't from my childhood, but one time I was babysitting this little boy, and he looks at me and he's like, "Why is your stomach so big?" And I was like 16 at the time, and I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, why is your stomach so big?" And I was like, "My stomach isn't big." And he's like, "Yeah, it is." And he points at my boobs. And I'm like, "That's not my stomach." And he's like, "Well, what is it?" And I'm like, "You can ask your mommy what that is. Hers are bigger than mine."
From your childhood that you thought was okay, but
I'm gonna head out on that note. Girl, bye. And we asking about your story. Tell your own business. Telling that little boy business. Yeah, these were some odd things that these people experience. That one chick having her dad leave her in the house with only a melon to eat for 3 days is crazy. She laughed about it later. Like, even as a kid, I would have known, like, nigga, you left me for dead. You left me for dead. Eat this nasty ass melon for 3 days. You got me fucked up. But, you know, sure, people see things differently, I guess. Things that was fucked up, I knew they was fucked up when I was a kid. You know, I had some crazy shit happen to me. I knew at the time it was fucked up. I was like, this ain't cool. This ain't right. So yeah, I got nothing to report. But yeah, this was interesting being in these people's business. Y'all let me know what y'all thought, though. Let me know what other videos you want to watch, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Bye.